There's a moment every human can connect with, and it's one of waiting. A moment where someone significant is gone too long. Silence all around you feels amplified in their absence, and the dark outside of your shelter is thick and alive and humming and threatening, and it's putting you on edge. And then you hear something. A rustle in the undergrowth, a snap of a twig, a sound that could be nothing or it could be everything. Your body reacts before your brain has words for it all. Your attention narrows. Your breathing changes. It becomes more shallow and rapid, and your skin wakes up and you get goosebumps and they ripple across the surface of your skin like wildfire. And in the space between what you know and what you don't know, your mind starts doing things it has always done. It writes a story. And the thing is, you aren't being particularly dramatic, nor might you say you're overthinking things in that moment. But for pretty much all of human history, not knowing wasn't a neutral gap in the mental landscape. Not knowing was dangerous. You see, for all our human history, as we have covered already in the previous episodes of this season, when we didn't know things, we made a story because we were trying to stay alive. And we still do it now. All of those thousands and thousands and thousands of years later, it's still happening. Only now, the rustle in the darkness might be something completely different. It could be a message left on red. 2 blue ticks, no response. You've been aired. It might be a boss who ends a call too quickly. They rushed off the line, their tone slightly impatient, left hanging in the space between you. It might be a friend who doesn't reply. You left a heartfelt message. It was poignant. It meant something. And yet they haven't even acknowledged it. It could be a meeting invite that suddenly disappears out of your calendar and you ponder why. Have you been uninvited, not wanted, excluded? Or it could just be silence, a yawning gap of nothing. So quiet it's deafening in all you do to fill it, because in that silence, your beloved nervous system reaches for meaning. It reaches for certainty. It needs to know outcomes and what's happening. It needs to know concrete plans. It reaches for safety. It needs to feel stability and steady ground underfoot. And it writes a script. A looping tale of events in the space where there is silence or a gap to fill it in, to plug in the holes that are gaping in your brain. Sometimes it's a beautiful, wonderful, tapestry-rich, technicolor, positive, hopeful script. And sometimes it's a brutal one. This episode is about the stories we generate inside ourselves. The stories we tell ourselves about what something means and what it means about us. This episode is called The Story I Tell Myself: How Humans Turned Uncertainty into Meaning and Why Your Nervous System Writes Script That You Didn't Choose. And by the end of this episode, I want you to do one simple thing. Catch that script while it's still being written. So are you ready? Then let's begin. Act 1. The gap-filling brain. Let's start with a truth that can feel a little bit uncomfortable. Your brain hates uncertainty. It cannot stand it, and it's biological. Because back then, way back in the deep past, uncertainty used to mean that you might die. If you didn't know where the danger was, you didn't get a chance to wait and see. You had to act accordingly and quickly and leave nothing to chance. And if you didn't know whether the tribe accepted you, you didn't get to just be all chill about it. It was a toss-up between being accepted and protected by the group or chucked out and isolated, and most likely to perish. So in order to deal with this, in order to evolve and adapt, the human brain developed a truly amazing superpower. It fills in the gaps. If there's information missing, it plugs it in. It completes patterns that it may have guessed from before, because if it happened then, is probably happening now. It creates meaning fast because there is no time to hang about waiting and seeing and chilling and being all cool. And it tends to do it in 3 questions so rapidly you don't even notice it. What's happening? What does it mean? And what should I do? That's basically a story, isn't it? Situation, what's happening? Interpretation, what does it mean? And action, what should I do? It's actually a tiny narrative machine that tries to get you from uncertainty to a plan, because a plan feels safer than a void or a gap, even if the plan is based on the wrong story. Your mind runs scenarios. It plays out possible outcomes. And let's be clear, it's not trying to torture you. It actually wants to protect you. I gave a keynote a few years back and I referred to what we feel this is as our inner golem, the negative Nancy on our shoulders giving us unhelpful and mean internal dialogues, catastrophizing and future faking and making things happen and making things up that just aren't helpful and worst case scenario kind of stuff. But really, this negative inner golem is actually trying to protect you in the kindest way. It wants to regain control and keep you out of harm's way. It wants to keep you inside the tribe and outside the danger and moving forward. It has the best intentions for your survival and well-being. So it runs a simulation in your mind to act as if it's happening. And if you're someone who's highly empathetic, highly attuned, or highly perceptive, you might not run 1 simulation. You might run 10. You might run 50. You might run a whole damn Netflix series. And the episodes included are rarely the calm ones. They're the ones full to the brim with drama. So, what are we actually dealing with here? We're dealing with ancient wiring. And I want to give you a simple map for it. Act 2, Fate. The ancient drivers in a modern world. I've been following and learning from a guy called Chase Hughes recently. He's amazing. Go and look him up. He talks about the idea that humans have built maps for everything. Maps for every inch of our oceans. Maps for the skies and beyond the stars. Maps for cities, every street corner, hill and valley. But not always a clear map for our behaviour, which is kind of important in the big scheme of things. And the moment you have a map, you can stop assuming you're broken or there's something wrong with you. You start seeing patterns and you start seeing levers. And one of the cleanest ways to frame those levers is by using Chase's FATE model. It stands for focus, authority, tribe, and emotion. And these are not personality traits, but they're survival pressures. They're actually the ancestral questions your nervous system asks even in modern life. Let's walk them through. F is for focus. Focus is a survival mechanism. We all know this. And if you can focus on what matters, you can survive. But here's the catch. Your nervous system doesn't always focus on what matters. It focuses on what it perceives matters. It can't distinguish between what is a real threat or a perceived threat. So when there's a gap in the map, the focus snaps to where's the threat in my environment? Where's the rejection coming from? Where's the danger I need to avoid? And where's the thing I need to fix in order to move forward? A is for authority. In tribal environments, disobeying leadership could risk expulsion. This is why public speaking is the #1 social phobia, glossophobia. It's because we didn't evolve to all be speaking in front of groups. Most of us were the ones compromising, collaborating, and accommodating to keep within the group and the good favours of the elders, rather than putting our heads above the parapet. If you did something the elders didn't like, if you went against the grain, if you didn't pull your weight, you could be expelled, you could be hoiked out, and that expulsion could mean death. So authority cues shape behaviour deeply, even now, even though we don't want it to. Authority doesn't just mean the boss or someone further up the hierarchy than you. It could be a partner's mood, not knowing who will walk through the door after work. It could be a parent's silence, the flicker of shame you feel from their lack of response. It could be a friend's disapproval, the feeling that you did something wrong, or a group chat that goes quiet after you speak, the feeling of being rejected and not belonging. Anything that signals you might be out is a big old trigger. T is for tribe. Humans constantly monitor the group for threat and value. In the modern world, we have multitude and multiples of different groups, way more than we ever did back when we lived within a maximum of 150 people within a group. This was a magic number that enabled a tribe to thrive and function as everyone had a role and knew each other within the group. Now we have virtual groups on the internet and WhatsApp groups on your phone. And they extend way further than 150 people that we use for our cooperative psychology. These groups are thousands, even millions in number, and we have our teams, we have departments, we have local communities, we have the family unit and friendship groups too. And the group governs the individual. So when there's uncertainty within the dynamics of the group, your nervous system asks, where do I stand? Am I safe? Am I liked? Am I wanted? Do I belong? Because the primitive wiring was designed to keep you tightly knit within the group in order to survive. E is for emotion. Emotion is not just a feeling, it's actually storage signs. Emotion is how the body bookmarks an event. Things tied to emotion get encoded really strongly, so future you can avoid pain and repeat safety. Which means if you've had past experiences where silences meant rejection and you felt the painful sting of being left out or told no or just ignored, or seriousness meant danger because you found yourself in a genuine position of life or death, your body doesn't experience this neutral gap. It just can't be neutral in that moment. It experiences, here we go again, because it's stored that memory along with the powerful emotion to remember in case something similar comes up next time, even if what comes up next time is nowhere near the situation you experienced before. So this is a key thing to remember. Your inner narrative is often a tribal safety strategy and not an objective report. It's not logical at all. And once you understand fate, coined by the amazing Chase Hughes, then you start to see why the story I tell myself can feel so convincing, because it's not coming from logic, it's coming from survival. Now, I want to bring this alive. I don't want to just keep this conceptual, but I want to make real scenes out of this, because the Mistory, these stories we tell ourselves, isn't just a theory to stay in our notebooks. It's a lived moment. And the stories we tell ourselves are so surprisingly similar. So you aren't alone with this. In fact, pretty much every other human being who has trodden the same evolutionary path as you will have this as their internal wiring. Act 3, Mistory case studies, when fate writes the script. I'm going to share 3 mini case study stories, and I want you to listen for 2 things as I go. Number 1, the gap. What wasn't known in the situation? And number 2, which part of fate got triggered? Focus, authority, tribe, or emotion? Because once you can name it, the beautiful thing is you can edit the script. Case study 1, the silent. Picture this. It's evening and you've had a full day. It's been busy and you are tired. However, you've been brave enough to send the message you were overthinking for ages. You had it in your notes app and you had edited a load of different versions of it to get it just right. And it wasn't too dramatic and it wasn't too harsh and it wasn't too needy and it wasn't too negative. No, you were honest. You were calm and clear and warm in your delivery without being soft and a pushover. Success, off it goes. And so you put your phone down with a flurry of accomplishment. And you go off to the kitchen to make tea and have a chocky bicky and reward yourself. Normal, easy breezy. Then, after about 10 minutes of busying yourself, you pick the phone up. No reply. They haven't read it. 30 minutes, nothing. An hour, nothing. The checking is becoming more frequent now. You've taken the phone off silent and put all your notifications on just in case. And the brain does what it does. It says, I don't know what they're thinking. And somewhere inside this last hour, that gap opens. Without you knowing it, it starts to widen in your mind. And so the protector takes over and starts to fill in the gaps. the story appears. I've done something wrong. Maybe I should have sent it like this. I came on too strong. I should have been less harsh and more thoughtful. They're annoyed. They don't agree and are too cross to respond. They've changed their mind. They don't want me anymore. Now watch fate kick in. Focus narrows your attention. It locks onto your phone. Tribe speaks. Am I safe? Am I wanted? Emotion opens up the archive. Every past moment where silence felt like rejection, it clocks it and plays that emotion back to you, trying to keep you safe. And suddenly, you're not in tonight. You're not in this moment right now. You're in many, many, many yesterdays. And then the behaviour starts. You reread what you sent from different angles. You rewrite the follow-up in your notes app, ready for when the response comes so that you don't miss a beat. You soften your language. You make it maybe a bit more flowery, maybe minimize the need you had in the first place. You add context. You might over-explain. You need them to understand exactly what you're thinking. They need to know your point of view. You try to manage their perception of you. You are likable and worthy. You are worth noticing and listening to, as you just want to belong, because the story you're telling yourself says you're already in trouble. And the cost is huge. The cost is your peace, the cost of a calm mind without all this spiraling chatter, your presence. You've sunk into a version of yourself that couldn't defend a flea, and your ability to enjoy your own evening. Now you're fixated on the non-response and you can't relax or focus on anything else. Sometimes you lose your self-respect because your rational thought leaves the building. Sometimes it's your self-trust because you second-guess yourself and try to keep track on where you went wrong. Because instead of living in reality, I don't know yet, you live in the script. And often, what was true instead was boring, uneventful, and decidedly bland. They were busy. They had been in umpteen back-to-back meetings and didn't even have time for lunch or dinner. They were driving. They were ploughing through a load of traffic and had scattered thoughts themselves. They were with their kids, phone down, immersed in quality time. They saw it and forgot. They looked at it in a flash, but then got dragged to the next thing, so they went about their day. Or they didn't know how to reply yet. They wanted to pause before responding because they know it's important. Or they were overwhelmed. They got too much going on and need to take a few things off their plate before they can focus on things properly. But your nervous system doesn't like boring. Your nervous system likes certainty. So it chooses the explanation that matches your deepest fear, not the one that matches evidence. And I want you to know, if you've ever done this, and I absolutely have, I'm with you. You're not alone. This is part of beautiful human wiring. So please hear this. A gap is not a verdict. Case study 2, the look. Now, I'd like you to imagine you're in a meeting. You're the one speaking. You're sharing an idea. You've prepped and planned this moment for months. You've rehearsed. You've got your notes nailed and the slide deck is popping. And you're proud to share this idea. And it's bold and it represents your thoughts and what you stand for. And then you notice it. A glance between two of your colleagues and the slight twitch of a smirk at the side of their mouths. Imperceptible. Almost, but not to you. Or it could be a pause in response, a little longer than you wanted. You were hoping for more enthusiasm, but you were left with a bit of tumbleweed. Or someone goes quiet, and in the silence you feel something that is the opposite of the reaction you wanted from speaking up. It could be that someone's face is serious. They've taken it the wrong way, nothing like it was intended. And the gap opens. I don't know what that meant, so the story writes itself. They think I'm wrong. They don't agree with my ideas and only agree with their own, and I'm an outcast. I've messed this up. I said too much. I didn't say enough. They're judging me. They think I'm rubbish. They don't rate me. I'm not in their clique. I'm about to be found out. I can't do this. I don't know anything. I shouldn't be here. Let's go back to fate. Authority lights up. Not always because someone is in authority, but because your nervous system treats them like one. All the people's approval in the room, no matter what their status, that person's approval starts to feel like safety. Tribe whispers, careful, don't get pushed out, because you sense the threat of being expelled from a group of people. and your focus narrows. You stop tracking the room, you start tracking the threat, you hyper-focus on the micro gaps and what's not being said and where the gap lies. And emotion says, remember what happened last time? When you've been here before, at school, when you got sneered at in the canteen, or when you didn't get picked at that time in sports, or remember when you had to do PE in your underwear. And the behaviour comes as a result. You shrink back and try to make yourself smaller in the room. You go quiet because if you're invisible, maybe none of this happened and you can ignore it. Or you over-agree because you want people to like you, so you back down. Or you become easy because maybe the idea was too bold anyway. And so being agreeable and accommodating will keep you safe and in the pack. Or you could become defensive because the fight has kicked in your fight-flight response and you feel the need to jump forward and attack. You can start controlling the conversation to protect yourself because you're in control. No one can hurt you. But either way, you stop being free. And the cost? Shrinking back means your voice isn't heard. You become invisible and you aren't seen or understood. You can feel resentment. You aren't able to say the things you want to say that are important to you and feel aligned with who you are and how you show up in the world. You leave the room thinking, why didn't I say what I meant, feeling annoyed and frustrated? Or you abandon your own perspective mid-sentence because cutting and running is better than sticking it out. And the frustrating part about this is sometimes, most of the time, nothing bad happened. Sometimes they were thinking and pausing before responding. They were processing. Sometimes they were tired, maybe a bit distracted, maybe a bit scattered. Sometimes they had their own stress, their own to-do list. They had some points to make. They were thinking them through. And sometimes their face just does that. It just looks like that when they are concentrating. But your nervous system didn't wait to confirm. It wrote the script and cast you in the role. Case study 3, the opportunity. Now picture this. You're scrolling on Facebook and LinkedIn. Or you're reading an email when something pops in, or you're in a conversation and someone pipes up and you see it. Someone else got the opportunity, that person in your peer group that you follow. Someone else got the gig, the person you admire that speaks on similar topics. Someone else got the promotion, that colleague from the other department. Someone else is celebrating a milestone or a love interest or a holiday in the Maldives, and the gap opens. I don't know what this means about me. And the story arrives like a stamp. I'm behind. I need to move quicker, do more work faster. I've missed my chance. I should have taken more opportunities, put myself out there more. I'm not as good. I don't know enough to be able to celebrate these things. I'm falling behind everyone else. I'll never bridge the gap. So what's happening with fate here? Tribe says, where do I rank? Where am I sitting in the pecking order now? Authority says, who decides I'm valuable? Who is the decision maker of my life? Emotion says, old shame, old comparison, old fear of being left out because it's happened before. And focus locks onto what you don't have and puts you in victim mode. Good things never happen to me. And then the behavior, of course, follows. You scramble. You might overwork, you might consume more content, you might chase more strategies, you try to fix your worth with productivity. And we all know the cost of this. Burnout, joylessness, creativity drying up. And what's true instead is you didn't see the full picture. Their timeline isn't your timeline. Their map of the world is completely different to yours. It's like comparing apples to oranges. Timing isn't worth. There are 100 invisible factors you don't know, and someone else's success is not your failure. Okay. So, if you recognized yourself in any of these, good. I mean, I did go a bit heavy there, but I'm hoping you did relate in some way. It means you're human. And it's not because it's good to suffer, but because recognition is the beginning of the editing. Act 4, why this is worse now. So we know that back then it was hugely different. Ancient uncertainty was local and occasional. Modern uncertainty is constant, it's digital and invisible. I just gave a few examples, and there are endless micro gaps that happen every single day where this phenomenon happens. It's unread emails, it's ambiguous punctuation, it's messages with no emoji, it's news cycles, it's comparison, it's people behind screens, it's people behind polite faces. And we used to fear what we couldn't see in the forest. Now we fear what we can't see in other people's minds. And because the gaps are endless, the scripts are endless too. And the more you repeat a script, the more it starts to sound like who you are. I'm too much. I'm not enough. I'm not safe. I have to perform to belong. Story isn't just about entertainment. Story is identity. And the wrong story, repeated often enough, becomes a cage. Act 5, editing tools. How to interrupt the script. So, what do we do about this? Well, the good news is that we don't try to stop the brain from writing stories. That would be like trying to stop your heart from beating. Instead, we can learn to catch the story earlier. We name it, we test it, and we choose an action that is not dictated by fear. Think of this as story craft. It's not therapy or editing a script. So I've got 3 editing tools that you can use to help you rewrite the stories you tell yourself. Tool 1, name the script. So with this, the first thing to do is to say it out loud or write it down, because in the moment when you notice a reaction in your body, mind, and emotions, you can stop the script building and say, the story I'm telling myself is. So it's a very simple, powerful statement. You stop and you ask yourself, the story I'm telling myself is, they're angry, I'm in trouble, I'm not wanted, I've messed up. It's going to come down to one of those fate principles and in terms of how you're feeling. But naming this creates distance. You can't edit a story you haven't already caught. So catch it when it starts, bring it into conscious awareness and name it. That's step 1. Tool 2 is your evidence check. This is taken from cognitive behavioral therapy. These are all really good tools from cognitive behavioral therapy. And what you can do is you get your notes app or a piece of paper and you write 2 columns. 1 column is evidence for this story. Number 2 column is evidence against this story. And then you ask, what's the most boring, likely explanation? And that question yanks you out of the drama and back into reality. It's a grounding exercise that brings your mind back down into logic from the fate place it was in. So evidence for this story, evidence against, and write that evidence down. Tool number 3 is 3 alternative stories. So you can write 3 versions of the story you're telling yourself. The worst case scenario, this one, is where the ancestral wiring will come out to play. The best case, here's where you channel your mind to much more positive, hopeful outcomes. And the most likely case, which is where the logic lies. And then you choose your next action from the most likely case scenario, not ever from the worst case scenario. Because if you act from worst case, your body behaves like it's under attack and you'll create outcomes that match that story. And here's a little tiny experiment that you can use. You can gather data instead of spiraling, and you can send 1 clean, clarifying message. You can ask 1 direct question. You can take 1 calm action that gives you information. This way, you become the author again of that script, not the character being dragged around by the plot, the gap audit. So here's a question you can carry around and pull out at a moment's notice. What story are you treating as fact that is actually just your nervous system trying to feel safe? I'll repeat that. What story are you treating as fact that is actually your nervous system trying to feel safe? And here's a little audit that you can apply, and you can do this in 60 seconds. Number 1, identify today's biggest gap. What don't you know? Number 2, write the story you told yourself about it. Number 3, name the fate trigger, focus, authority, tribe, or emotion. Number 4, write 1 most likely alternative story. And number 5, choose 1 calm action based on that most likely scenario. And there you go. If you do this, if you keep giving this a go with kindness and curiosity, see what happens to the stories you are telling yourself, because story isn't just what we read or consume or watch. It's what we generate. And once you see that, this whole season shifts, because you realize you're not only listening to stories, you're living one, and your inner narrator is shaping it every single day. In the next episode, we're going to zoom out again. We're going to explore the story we inherited, the one that became the bedrock of our films and scripts, talks and presentations, and how we can look at that differently. Until then, be kind to your nervous system. It's your protector. It's been writing survival scripts for thousands of years, and you don't have to change who you are. You can just catch the stories when they start and become the editor. See you in the next one.